There's a few of them up. There's a few. I'll tell you in a minute. There's a few prices up for grabs.
That's why we keep it so close.
Oh, is that it? It's so I don't have to walk down the back gym for you, is it?
Did you want 3 weeks?
And you notice my glasses are a lot fuller than everyone else's. So I'm out tonight, lads. Turn it down so leave it on with that. It's here. It's too bad. Let you stay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay for that.
Yeah. No mic. No mic. I can use this mic. So yeah, welcome everyone. Can you hear me? Yeah. Welcome everyone to our next whiskey tasting event. It's fantastic to see so many of you all here. Huge crowd turnout for tonight for a Wednesday night. It's fantastic really to see so many. And hope you all have tomorrow booked off work. There's plenty of whiskey to go around with. Some fantastic whiskies to try. Rob here from Clonakilty Distillery is here to go through a couple of samples from them. We also have Tony from Fox of the Bow Whiskey. Alice and Tony, and they're involved, members of the society. Alice, you'll have seen her at a lot of the events here, and yeah,
she's off enjoying herself in South Africa at the moment, but she can't be here.
So yeah, enjoy the whiskies, enjoy the evening. Yeah, hand it over to you.
Perfect.
Okay,
brilliant. So do I need a microphone or can everyone hear me? Are we all good? Yeah. So a bit of housekeeping, guys. So did you all get your vouchers for fine wines for afterwards? Did you all get a free sloe gin and tonic? Yeah. Okay, that's great. So you're all liquored up already. That's brilliant. So I'm Rob from Clonakilty. I'm the sales rep for West of Ireland. This isn't really my job description, but it's something I do on the weekends. It's not a weekend. But so I'll bring you through the first product you had tonight. So you had Sloe Gin. Have anyone of you had Sloe Gin before? Have you heard about Sloe Gin? Do you know what Sloe Gin is?
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah. Gin and sloes. Perfect. So our gin is kind of unique. We do 3 different distillations. So our gin, I know it's a whiskey study, but I'll talk about it for like only 2 seconds, lads. I'm sorry. But it's we do 3 different distills. We start off with like the regular like juniper berries and all that jazz. And we do one with like lemon zest, lime zest, and orange zest. And then we do one with rock samphire. And then with our Sloe Gin, we do another distillation where we put in a giant tea bag of sloe berries into our distillation, into our coffee pot still. And then we basically run the still with the sloe berries in it. And then we let them sit in vats of sloe berries. And that's where you can really taste like that real tart, slow taste in the background. I thought it was a nice thing to start off the day with because, you know, it really kickstarts the evening. A 40% gin and with a bit of tonic water really leans you into the whiskey, you know. So if you all want to decant your first glass, which we're going to go from left to right.
Just going to reach the Glencairns. They have.
Oh, sorry. So the Glencairns, the glass at the top of the triangle on all of your mats. So it's the different shaped glass. So it's this one here. Do you want me using yours? This one here has the Fox's Bow whiskey in it. So this one we're going to leave to the last, and Tony's going to go through it. So the rest of them in the shot glasses are from Clonakilty. So what I'm going to do is we're going to work left to right as if we're reading across the page. I'm going to put that one into your first glass on your left. Which one's left? Left is your left hand. This one. So yeah, it's the blue one for at home. You already spilled one. Yeah. Try the mic, is it better? So just before we try this, I'm going to give you a little information about Clonakilty. So Clonakilty Distillery was set up by a dairy farmer and his wife. He was on a holiday in Poland. He went into a vodka bar in Poznan. You can guess why he was in Poland. And he was in Poznan, went into a vodka bar, and he had milk vodka. And he was like, "Oh, wait, what's milk vodka? Like, well, what's the story of that?" And a typical Irish West of Ireland farmer, he decided to try to make money out of it. So what he did was he found out that it's basically they use the byproduct that's used from dairy farming called whey, and they make vodka from it. So what's vodka is gin without the juniper berries and everything like that. So he came back and he decided to make vodka and gin. And then he's a whiskey drinker, so he was like, what can we do with whiskey? So now we have a whiskey range. So the first whiskey that you're going to try, how I presume you're all part of a whiskey society, so you all know how to taste whiskey. Does anyone want any help? No? Okay, so how I suggest to taste whiskey is the first sip is like you're drinking a hot cup of coffee that you don't know what the temperature is. So you take a small little bit, you put it into your mouth, your palate opens your palate, you're not taking too much. The second and the third one is how you actually taste the whiskey. But you probably should have smelled it first. So what you normally do is your first thing you're going to get the aromas, you're going to get the smell, and then you take a sip. Does everyone want to do that? So the second sip, so a lot of people say, I've heard this at tasting here before, is that the first sip is your mouth telling your brain that it's poison, and you say your brain trying to figure out whether it's poison or not. So you're obviously going to taste, it's going to taste like spirit, it's going to taste like fire, it's going to taste like a lot of other things. But the second sip of whiskey is really where you get the flavor, you get the aroma, you get everything. That's where your palate's open and everything's ready to go. So how was the first taste, Red? Keep us just out.
Fire.
Like fire. Perfect. Thank you. So it's as you might have noticed, that Clonakilty is a bit stronger. So Irish whiskey, to be legally claimed an Irish whiskey, it has to be one distilled on the mainland of Ireland. So that's including the island. So if anyone says that it's still on an island, they're wrong. It has to be on the mainland of Ireland. And the second thing is that it has to be over 40% or over. So Clonakilty decided, because they're from Cork, that they weren't going to stick with the 40%, that said they'll knock it up a bit more. So it's 43.6% for all of our whiskies today, except for a single malt. So it would be a bit stronger than whiskies that you'll be normally drinking. And you also, if you want, we did set up some water down the back of the room. So if anyone would like to run now while we're in the middle of this tasting, grab a glass of water, because you can bring down a small bit of the ABV. That one's the double oak. So how the double oak works, thanks there, was the double oak is, so it's the reason it's called double oak is that it starts off, the first cask is an ex-bourbon cask. So like most Irish whiskies, it comes from an American bourbon cask. All of ours comes from Jack Daniels, and then it's finished then in. So you'll find this out. We use wine cask later on. So we use an ex-wine cask, so a cask that's already been used before by a red wine distributor that we use in Bordeaux. And what we do is we shave it, we rechar it, and then we put the whiskey from the ex-bourbon cask into this. So that's what gives it that spicy, oaky, kind of bourbon-y style flavor in it. So it's coming from the bourbon cask and then the rechar, so it's that smoky, spiky, spicy kind of flavor. So there's a taste of bourbon, you taste the bourbon. So
very like the colour, is that a very mild char in the cask?
Yeah, so with recharring a bourbon cask, you get a darker colour. Recharring a red wine cask, it comes up with slight because you get the sugar from the bourbon. So with rechar a wine glass, you don't get the sugar, so it doesn't go as dark. So the whiskey doesn't come out as dark. That's actually very professional. That's not one. So that's why the colour might be slightly less than which we used to. Yes, so I was just about to say that after that question. So as that question is already, I just said take one for that question over here, which was, why is it cut lighter in colour? And then I got one a few minutes ago about sloe berries. There's going to be a prize for what the first prize this evening. So we're going to, 4 of these 5 bottles are up for grabs this evening. So one's going to be done in a raffle, one's going to be done for best question, one's going to be for participation from the crowd. So please start talking and shouting and whooping. Come on, we're giving out free whiskey. And so what we're going to do is, just don't interrupt me. I got a microphone. So what we're going to do is, there's going to be quite prizes for all that. So the first person that wins with the best question is going to get first choice. The person that wins with the raffle is going to get the second choice. The person that whoops and hollers and gets drunk is going to get the third prize. And then if we're lucky, you get a 4th prize. And then whoever's nice to me gets the 5th. How about that, right? So, is everyone finished with their double up? Has everyone tried it? Tried but not finished. You need the glass, so.
No.
No, point.
Yeah.
Like the long.
Awkward silence is on there.
I really form in those.
The drunker you get, it's not going to be that silent anymore.
Don't worry, I gotta keep doing it.
No.
How long was that in the cast? So we aged it for a minimum of 8 years. That's the expiry cast. It was finishing for 6 months then in the recharge cast. So that's 6 months. So what we do is we put all of them would start off. So with all of them, they're a minimum of 8 years. So the Bordeaux is 9, and like the single malt is 9, but the two on this side are 8. So what happens is we age them for 8 years in the expiry cast, and then we finish them for 6. The double oak, the port of 6, the Bordeaux was a year, and the single malt's a year. So I'll go through that. Very good question. Who's taking the track of the questions? So if you want to move on to the next whiskey, which is my personal favorite, which is the Port Cask. That is the red label on your sheet, moving left to right. And as you can see, it's my favorite one because it's the biggest one for it. So are you doing the same thing, trying it like smelling it, trying it like it's a hot coffee, then taking a big gulp? So what's unusual about this one, and it's one that you'll find, it's podcasts are very common and sherries are very common, but it's something that I'm going to talk about, which is different between this one and the next one, is that with a red wine cask, a lot of people get a sulfur aftertaste. So when I taste the port cask, I taste like a Christmas cake, I taste like spices, I taste sherry, I taste port, that's the kind of flavor, like sugar, sweet, Christmas. I'm going to have a pumpkin spice latte afterwards, you know. But with then the Bordeaux, then it's supposed to be the crisp, summery one. But in the tasting notes by the wider public, people say that's the rhubarb and custard, and this one is the sharp one. But it depends on your flavor pattern. So most people have a proclivity to sulfur. They don't particularly like it. They don't like it. They don't want to drink it. So when I drink the Bordeaux, all I can taste is that, and that comes from red wine. Whereas with the port, you don't get that. You get that sweet, creamy taste. So I think it's an unusual comparison. Half the room will be divided that they don't like it. The other half will say they love it. So. You like it as well, yeah? It's funny as well, if you actually look at it in the lighting's not great. If you look at it in the light, it's nearly red. And if you compare it to the red one, which is funny, so you compare it. Yeah. Hold on here to the clear light, the one that I want to example. This is a red wine cask. So what's funny with that one is that it's actually clear, this is actually a clearer bottle, whereas the port is a darker, obviously, because port's darker. But yeah, how was that one? Anyone want to have any comments? Anyone have any tasting notes? What do other people get from it? Very tasty.
Kind of quick to get the
Where do we get the port cask from? From the Douro region in Portugal. Yeah. So it's port cask from Portugal.
What age liquid is it?
So like I said with the double oak, the double oak is also an 8-year-old. The port cask is an 8-year-old. It's also mixed. So it's an 8-year-old single malt mixed with a single grain. So we keep the single grains over on this side. But this one's a single grain, it's a single malt. So that's left for itself. Whereas we use the older single malt in this, so it's mixed. So it's a tough one to call because we don't put age statements on any of our products because it's done as a blend. We don't age state them. We have 2 coming out this year. They're going to be flyers. One's a 12-year-old, one's a 15-year-old. But they don't age state them. But it is an 8-year-old is the main product in them.
What was it, 8-year-old for your baseline? So.
8-year-olds are baseline. So like even we've just started making our own pot still. And it's 3.5 years old at the moment. and we're not going to release it until it turns 9. So we're going to hold off and wait until it matures, because we thought that other companies get positives that.
What kind of cask lineup have you envisioned for that? Or
So we've just built the 3 times the size of Park Cleave storage warehouse for our casks. So Inclán, yeah. So we're it's a bit of the geography down there. So we have a distillery right in the middle of Clon town. So it's if you're coming into Clon, you pass Galley's super volume right inside. Come to the roundabout. There's 3 giant pot stills in a glass building overlooking the town, and that's where we are. If anyone wants to go down, I'll have my email address out. You can all get discounts on tours. Don't worry about that. You just use your €5 voucher off the tour. That's it. They'll know me. It's fine. But that's where that is. And then we've got our barley fields. It's out by Galley Head Lighthouse. That's why we have the Galley Head single malt. And then we have our maturation warehouse is actually out on Ard Fields where our dairy farm is. So let's say the stage is our maturation warehouse. The bar is where the cliffs are. So you're right on the edge of the coastline. So that's why we go by the Atlantean Distillery, because there's a whole idea that because of the atmospheric pressure by the west coast of Ireland, that the wood is expanding, contracting more, and the sea is getting into the barrels. And it's all completely true, and it's it's all completely true. Nick from TreatyWS says the same thing. Perfect, absolutely no problem. And yeah, it does. To be honest, you can say that about any part of the world. If there's heat, if there's air pressure, it's going to change. But there is something unique about the water we use. It comes from a well. It still has to be treated to be put into whiskey, but it comes from our own well. It's on the west coast of Ireland. We are based on the water, which I mean, it's not a lot of bases, can't say.
How high do you stack your barrels? How many barrels? 4. Okay, so the height doesn't matter.
No, the rim.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
We had a bigger rim.
with heat, with heat. Because like, for example, Jack Daniels have their barrels high.
Yeah.
Because like the difference between heat and cold is higher.
Yeah.
So they have difference in taste.
Yes. So we have that same issue with depth. We can't get back to the sun barrels. We have to start going the opposite direction. With the heat, we don't have an issue with heat. Yeah. So it's not really an issue. It's not really a problem. We call him a Cooper, but he's not a Cooper. His name's Sean. It's not qualified. But he's 70 odd. He's worked in a load of distilleries around the world, and he's brilliant when it comes to looking after casks and making sure they're okay and testing them, patching them. If you want and you're down to the distillery tour, Sean's the guy with the red hair with the goatee going around. You can ask him. That's the beauty about going to our distillery tour, is that when you walk into the room, Barrett is making gin that morning. Chloe's working on the mash. You see Caroline and the girls working on bottling, all in the distillery, and it's happening right there in front of you. So you can leave not that day, but you can leave in 2 weeks' time with a bottle of gin that came out of the distill the day you were there. I don't know many places that can say that. So we're very close to production line, so you can actually call upon someone to come up and answer that question if I wanted to. I'd probably call Sean. It's probably out drinking, but I could call him.
Have you released any source treatment for your root stuff?
Yeah, so we're still using source liquids for some of our products. And most of them at the moment are still sourced. So the distillery was open in 2016. So when the distillery was officially open in 2016, there was a distillery out in the field before that, but we don't really talk about it.
why is that?
Because he's in a farm. No, so it was in our maturation warehouse. So we did make our own gin, and we did use that with a small little bottle that we got from Italy, but we don't talk about it because we got a fancy new distillery. So it's kind of nice to talk about the one that has like a beekeep on the roof. No. When you walk out of Scannell's in the middle of Clon, you turn left, and Clonakilty Distillery is right there, and it overlooks the whole town. most bars are behind us in there as well. So if you want to go into any bar, there's gin, vodka, whiskey. So guys, I'm going to ask you to finish up on your port cask, and then we're going to move on to the wine section. So as you can see, you've had 2 glasses. So please use your unused glass to put the first above the port, which is the Bordeaux, which is your green label for everyone at home. So this is the one that I was talking about, that when I drink it, and I like it, but I get that slight sulphury smell that I get from red wine. Does anyone else get that? Or is that just me? Because it should be about, according to my junior set science book, it should be 50% of people in the room. Yeah, you can smell that sulphury, it's clear, it's wine. Yeah, exactly. But what's funny about that is that puts me off it. A lot of people love that sharp taste at the start, and then they move on to the next one. So once again, your hot coffee technique, let it slip around the palate. Hot coffee, yeah, do you hear that start? What is it? It's a good one, you like it?
Great.
Yeah, so this is a single grain. So it's the Bordeaux Cask. So, as you know, the Bordeaux is known for what?
Wine, red wine.
Wine, yeah, and wine and red wine, yeah. Yes, we get it from an undisclosed location. We're actually not going to tell where we get it from because the wine brand is actually very popular. Like we can tell you that our ex-bourbon cask from Jack Daniels because they have most of them in the world. But our wine, we're not allowed to talk about. So that's a bit mysterious. So think about Bordeaux wine houses, and if someone gets it right, I will kill you. No, I will give you a free bottle of Sloe Gin if someone gets the Bordeaux house first. No, come up to me at the end of the show. Don't yell out because I will get in trouble with live streaming. And that's when Michael Scully gets a sniper. Yeah, if you don't say the right one, we're okay. So anyone got any tasting references on that? Remember, there's a prize for participation. We're looking at Ollie in the back.
Yeah.
Waving doesn't include. Do we have anything to do with Clonakilty back pudding?
I said to go well with Clonakilty back
pudding. Well, if we had a restaurant, there's a restaurant in Limerick that will be doing a pairing of, it's going to be something to like stewed apple, black pudding patty with black pudding patty with one of our whiskies for Easter of next year. So it's going to be a nice little dish. So I'll let everyone know when that happens. It's crisp. Yeah, so it wouldn't be as I feel it's not as creamy as the port cask. Absolutely. No, it's exactly tasty. I know what's funny is so we're releasing a 12-year-old single grain this year. Yeah. So our 12-year-old single grain is the same product that's in the single grain bottle, just aged up a year or two. So like you please don't make jokes about the age of whiskies. So yeah, so it's going to be some of the bottles that have been produced in the last 12 months have been 11-year-olds.
Yeah.
13.
I mean,
what was it first? So actually, we're unique in that sense. So what we did was we didn't release all our products. That we didn't release one product and then fall behind. Like so, what we did was we sourced liquids. We made our double oak, we made our port cask, we made our Bordeaux, and we made our Minty gin. So we released four products into the market at the same time. And then a couple of years later, then we branched into vodka, and then a couple of years after that, then we branched into Sloe Gin, and then we branched into single malt. And now we have 15-year-olds, an 18-year-old, and a 12-year-old. All that will be out before Christmas. So Christmas presents, guys.
You don't do any cask.
We are actually offering a cask keepers program. So that's I was going to So we're doing a cask keepers program. You can invest in cask, but the cask we're asking people that we're getting people to invest in now are new pot pillars. So you'll be getting into the ground level of an already established business, think it that way. We do quarter cask, half cask, and full cask. If anyone wants information about that, I can send out my details and you can all talk about it. But it's like that. There's a few legal things that I can say now. I am not a financial advisor. I cannot. I don't know. There's some T's and C's that I should whisper my breath that they bring into that. Your line is that you're only investing it for the sheer love of whiskey, and that there's no guarantee of any profits that you may or may not make. So yeah, no, there is the cask keepers, as you know, are volatile, and it all depends on the company that's doing it. But yes, we do offer a very good cask keepers club, and it's very entry level, so you can get involved in quarter, half, and full. So it's quite competitive to get involved. Yeah, it is. You can really, it's the whole idea is that Clonakilty want to be, we're kind of old fashioned when you look at us, but like it's run by a bunch of young people, so it's they want to be somewhat inclusive of other brands and other situations and what people can afford and what people can't afford. Yeah. So has everyone finished their single grain Bordeaux cask? Yeah, yeah. So exactly. So it's single grain can be hit and miss, and it is a beautiful whiskey. Just it can divide the room.
When they say single grains, just one harvest.
Yeah.
Okay,
exactly. There's no malt. Yeah, exactly. There's no malt. Right. So ours would be from one location at one time. Yeah, so it's yes. So like that, our single grain would be used in the blend with our double oak and our forecast, and it's not used obviously in single malts. Well, it's especially it's a cheaper one to produce. Well, it depends on how they finish it. Yeah. In my opinion, because people can talk about the base product a lot, but it's how you finish the product, it's how it actually ends up tasting. So, like I think the Bordeaux Cask says a lot more about the single grain product than the actual single grain. People get caught up on single grain, single malt, when really sometimes some of the blends are better than the product that you can get in the singular category at the moment.
Do you have single grain?
We do. We do. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Explain that.
No. I'll be completely honest with you. No. I'll talk about the whiskey, not talk about the distillation process.
Sorry.
What? Yeah. What?
The grain contract.
No, so we grow. So we grow it ourselves. So every year. So our grain. Actually, our fields and our grain are on our own land. So we control it. So because our owner's a farmer, he was like, "Why ship it out to anyone else?" You know, do it all ourselves. So yeah. So it's actually a nightmare to go down and look at it now. Oh yeah, so we do. So this is the thing. Unfortunately, I was only able to buy poachers tonic water this evening. So they were out of stock because I say someone got there before me. They were out of stock at Musgraves. So we do a gin and tonic, which is a grass to glass gin and tonic. So we can tell you what cow the whey was produced from, and then we combine that with poachers, which is a grass to glass product in Wexford, I think. Wexford. And they're in Wexford, so we do a combination with the two of them. And what happens is that you get two products that are glass to grass. So there's traceability the whole way back to the production line. So it's something that we didn't offer tonight that we normally should offer. And that's to back that up, the sloe berries are hand foraged on the west coast of Ireland as well. So it's a team bonding day. They all get to, well, I never did it, thank God. But they all put on overalls and they go out and pick sloe berries. And that's why the bottles are slightly smaller. So because the sloe berries are hand picked, they're a 500 ml bottle, and we have to produce 2,500 bottles for some reason. Yeah. More often cold at times. But so they can do mulled sloe gin, and then everyone's happy after about 20 minutes. So how is everyone getting on with the Bordeaux Cask? Is that good for everyone? Everyone like it? Yeah. Cool. So what we have next is our single malts. So this is the newest product to our line. And this is actually something I'm kind of proud of, because when we were launching this, we had a meeting in Clon. It was my first month in the job. And
Careful.
there was
Careful. Don't drop it.
I won't drop it. It's fine. But we had a meeting in the Clon, and the conversation was our products are overpriced. Like, well, they're not overpriced, they're just too expensive, and that people can't afford to get a bottle that you can just go to the shop and pick up. So if you look at the box for a bottle of whiskey, they're quite expensive. If you look for a bottle, they're quite expensive. So what we did was we took the decal that we put on the outside of the bottle, we put it on the label. We got a cheaper size bottle with less glass. And what we did was, instead of keeping it at the same price as we normally did, we knocked the €25 off it. So what happens is that every customer can get a saving of about 25 quid, then versus one of our regular line. So it's an Irish craft single malt that's 8 years old. That is roughly $39.95 in every single retailer in the country. So when you compare that across the board to other distilleries, it's quite competitive. So it's something that I like talking about, which is there's a marketing ploy, which is that you buy a bottle that you can hold in one hand. So if you pick up a box, you got to hold it in two hands in case it falls out the bottom. If you pick up something heavy, you can't. You're always going to drink a bottle that you hold in one hand. So that's why I always pick it up when I'm doing these demonstrations. So same again, so there's the dark chocolate kind of aftertaste from single malts. The beautiful, beautiful whiskey.
It's very nice.
Or it's kind of a youthful one. As you'd say again, it's got the less colour like the other ones because it comes from a wine cask rather than a charred cask. So that's an uncharred ex-wine cask that we use to finish that off. So it gives that crisp taste that you get from the single grain, but it's just slightly.
The same Bordeaux.
It's the same mysterious Bordeaux residence. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Want the mic?
How long is your company?
I'm with the company just a little over 12 months. Does it sound like I'm here a bit longer?
Baby.
Yeah.
That whiskey volume.
The Galley Head.
They sent out these emojis. Whiskey that was initially Imperial and was 98 Cask.
Yeah.
Which all sent to the States.
Yeah.
But they had bottles of it there.
Yeah.
Did you ever revisit that again?
Yeah, we still have it.
You still have it?
Yeah, so
are you
we
going
did.
to do something like that for Ireland?
So we have done something like that, right? So that's a very good. So the question was that we do combinations with craft distilleries and craft breweries in America and other places. And what we do is we make unique brands of whiskies for places in America. The question was, will we do that in Ireland? The answer is yes. So last Christmas we released an O'Hara's winter spice blend. So what it was is that we aged the cask for 12 months before Christmas. So with 6 months was an ingredient stout cask, and then the last 6 months was some sort of IPA, like an Indian, like an IPA cask from O'Hara's. So we did that for O'Hara's. We also have 3 coming out this year. So we have O'Hara's coming out for Father's Day this year, conveniently, and we also have one coming out for the summer, which is a very unique one. It's from a very, very, very small brewery in Dingle. If anyone can guess it on the first try, they get a free bottle. Oh. So yeah, so we're doing one with Dick. Yeah, I don't have no bottles to go around. We're doing one with Dick Max. So we're doing Joe Dick Max have their very unique stout in Dingle. We're using their stout cask for our one. Yeah. We've all their cask. We're doing one with them. Fitted this last was kind enough we actually had a taste of this 2 months ago. It's doing pretty good. It's kind of fruity at the moment, but it's good. No? Kilkenny. Carlo.
Yeah.
Their options at Kilkenny.
One that they released.
Last Christmas. Yeah, so it won he's the only person I've ever heard say bananas. It's supposed to be winter spice. Bananas. Caribbean spice. Were you eating a banana at the time?
That's where the bubbles.
So that is my whiskies for the evening. And thank you all for coming. Sorry for rambling on. So the raffle and the whiskey are going to be done at the end. I'm going to give one for the best question. Now, while I'm standing up here, it's gone up to you guys over here. I don't know which one of you it was, but you got one over here. So would you like to pick your first one? Fourth? Oh. If everyone wants the forecast, I'll get another forecast out of them.
Okay.
And there was one going for the quickest answer of Dick Max. So we're gonna show one over here. So what one would you like to take? This one?
Yeah,
This one?
no, the other third, yeah. One,
One, two, three.
three.
Perfect, thank you. And then the rest of the graphs are after later on, all right? No problem. Please, thank you very much. I'm going to pass you over to Tony. And then bring you the rest.
Good, good. If you're thirsty for more whiskey, or you want to take a bit of a break for a couple of minutes? Keep going. Maybe cocktail on the way as well. We'll go through a bit of the taste, we'll go a bit about the brand, and then we'll wrap up with a cocktail. So I'm Tony. I'm one of the co-founders of Fox and Bow. Alice Carroll, my other co-founder, is away in South Africa at the moment on business, so hopefully that goes well. But Alice is Norway. It's not the list, we'll go. You know, we're always looking for opportunities. So it's good to see actually a few familiar faces. You know, we just closed our crowdfunding round there during the summer, where we opened up our investment. Thanks very much. We wanted to, I guess, make sure people had an opportunity to own a piece of the company and really treat those investors like owners and come along on the journey with us to build a brand that is, you know, proudly Limerick, proudly rooted in Limerick, but wants to put, I guess, a modern contemporary twist on Irish whiskey. So, I guess a bit about where the idea came from, and like all great ideas, it started in a bar. This time in San Francisco, so I was living and working in San Francisco. Nothing to do with the whiskey world. I was working as an accountant in big tech. But I had a bunch of my pals over from Limerick for the weekend, and you're having a crack that you could only kind of have your Limerick pals, you know, and you're in a bar, drinking expensive San Francisco beer and chasing it with like an unbelievable selection of Irish whiskey. But looking up at the back bar, and a lot of the whiskey in the US, a lot of the Irish whiskey in the US looked the same, you know, black, brown, green bottles, nothing that really took out for me that I would associate with what modern contemporary Ireland is. So I got to, I guess, trying to rectify that slightly. As I said, I wasn't a whiskey guy over in the space. But Alice, my co-founder, who grew up a couple of doors down from me, I spent 10 years working with Pernod, so being a brand marketer for brands like Jameson, Chivas, Stick It Out, all of those good stuff. So yeah, we've been working pretty tirelessly to get Fox and Bow out, and we're going to be a year old on Friday. So we launched it 11 it's our birthday. Exactly, yeah. So it's been our birthdays, yeah. It's cake, you're going to birthday party today. Cake. Oh yeah, there should be a cake. 11, we should do something. We should have we didn't plan that well. So then in terms of that's kind of like where the story came. And then Obviously, you can see from the bottom here, we're trying to do something with the brand. We want to represent modern contemporary Ireland. I think there's Irish whiskey as a whole is an unbelievable scene, it's an unbelievable industry. Everyone is so helpful, so creative. And everyone is really working together to drive Irish whiskey as an export and put it back in its rightful place ahead of Scotch, where it once was. And hopefully, we're on track to get there. But there was a bit of a niche or a bit of an opportunity to say, why don't we create something that's a bit more modern looking, a bit more contemporary, kind of maybe blow some of the misconceptions or perceived perceptions, I guess, around whiskey that it's, it's a man's drink, that it only has to be drank a certain way, don't be putting any water in it, don't have any ice in it. Like, to that, we actually say, screw all of that. The thing about whiskey is no one should tell you ever how to drink it. You enjoy whiskey the way you enjoy it. As long as you're enjoying it, that's the main thing. So we did want to kind of tear down some of those rules. And a lot of people actually are looking to get into whiskey, but find it pretty intimidating because of those rules. So we're like, let's try and move away from that. That does start with the bottle. So we have the neon pink. We want to make sure that's attractive for people to pick up, eye-catching, like that's something different. We have the artwork on the side here. So we have a commitment to work with as many local, both Limerick and Ireland artists as possible. So for release one, which is what this is, we worked with Clonakilty Sloe. So he is graduate of Limerick School of Art and Design, grew up in Corby, and runs a pretty actually successful studio in London in studios. And John has done work with the likes of Nike and Vans in the past. It's like an amazing pedigree. Actually, when you mention John and Limerick, a lot of people are like, who's he? You're not, I was one of those. So there's great local artists out there. I want to give those folks a platform as well to showcase their product. And that extends to moving partner for swag and all that good stuff too. So that's the bottle. What about the whiskey then? You all have it in front of you there in the Glencairn casks. So it's a blended whiskey, bottled at 43% ABV, so it's small bit more tail. It's aged in bourbon casks, then finished in Oloroso sherry casks, and then rye casks. And the rye cask component is pretty unusual for Irish whiskey, and I'll talk about that in a moment. But in terms of what you're getting on the nose, what I get on the nose, again, this is very subjective, it's that like a big kind of wave of vanilla that's coming from the bourbon cask. And then when you go in and you take it in and you taste it, as a result of the impact of the Oloroso sherry cask, you get a big burst of fruity sherry flavors. And then what you find, and this is my favorite part of it, is that rye cask finish. So you get a bit of spice actually cutting through that sweetness. Yeah, exactly. So and that spice, and you'll see it as well when you do a cocktail. It works great then, the mix drink just as great as it does on its own. And where the rye cask idea came from, and actually just in terms of where the liquid comes from, and we do want to be very transparent in this. We're a very proud Limerick brand. We do not have our own distillery. Has bootstrapped this to a point to the fundraising. But what does that mean in terms of getting a product in? So we actually went to great Northern distilleries, so John Keeling and Brian Watts, the master distiller, who we're delighted to say, his touches on this product. Unfortunately, Brian passed away last month, and so that's lost the Irish whiskey industry. So we sourced the whiskey from Great Northern. We're very kind of, as I said, transparent in that. But with the rye cask piece, I was living in San Francisco, as I mentioned. Alice had spent 6 or 7 years in Toronto. We were both massive rye drinkers, just at the bar, sipping on a glass of rye, shooting a rye, drinking a beer. So when we got back and we were talking to John Keeling, in particular Brian Watts, we're like, wow, what would the impact of the rye cask finish be like? And we played around with it. We played around with it at different percentages, so at 45%, 40%, 41%. What we landed on was at 43% with that white cask finish. It gives you that lovely wave of spice on the end of the palate. Our whole thing though, it all sounds very, very fancy as any whiskey finish does. Our whole shape is that ultimately this is an unfussy quality whiskey inspired by an unfussy quality place. And we want people to enjoy it however they can, or however they want. Drink it neat, drink it with a little ice. You want to lash it a load of ginger beer here in a second, and you can see what that's like.
How much is the bottle?
Yeah, so the bottle is €39, which is the single malt from Clonakilty is very competitive. But this is also very competitively priced. So
It's on offer at the moment.
it's going to be an offer come Friday in O'Brien's at €35, and that's going to run through to the end of the year. So from a Christmas gifting perspective, it's a great one, gift bags and things like that as well. And yeah, so for €39, €35, there's not a lot out there in terms of a blended whiskey with 3 barrel finishes on 43%. So it is a very premium liquid at a great price point as well. And something that's going to be hopefully picked up. We don't want people picking it up and throwing it on the shelves and everything else. Pick it up, drink it, bring it to a party, buy it again, enjoy it.
How many barrels do you have?
So our first run, we bottled 4,500 bottles. And this time around, actually, we're bottling 17,000 bottles.
Good result.
Well, with the setup as well, you know. But a big part of us was, you know, that 4,500 bottles we launched last year. Myself and Alice felt that there was maybe something that there was an opportunity. We went out, we got good traction with that. We were fortunate enough with the fundraising then, you know, we attracted some good direct investors, a great community from Clonakilty, over 400 people come on board from Clonakilty, which is amazing. And we had a bunch of opportunities that we wanted to, or that we had actually heat up, so like national distribution, export. We needed capital to unlock those, and a big part of that capital was to invest in stock, invest in people. We're making our first hire now as well, which is great. So it's early days for us. Yeah, so we're currently, obviously we're here, we're in Germany, we're in Italy, we're about to go into South Africa, which is a very interesting market, and I think the product and how we talk about it will resonate with folks there. But ultimately as well, we want to go into the US. So we started the work on that in terms of conversations with importers. It's not just a case of going into the US, to be honest. You know, it's so big. You pick one market and we want to go narrow and deep on that. And really kind of build out our hypothesis there. So there's a few cities in running for where we want to go first. It's not your typical New York's and Boston's. It's probably some of the secondary cities. So we're excited about that, but it's a ton of work. You know, we're doing that, but it's going well. Yeah. So thanks.
I mean, that's probably not typical in
It's not typical. There has been a couple in the last 6 months that, you know, right finishes, and there's been a bit of Nashville as well. I think more of it should be done. You know, as I said, I'm a big fan of drinking right. Anyway, I think that's what's component. I think it does work well with, you know, for you or something like that as well. We get to see that now as well too. We do have a bottle to give away. I'm not sure. We don't have any clever mechanisms in terms of how we give it out. Second round of quarters raffle. Yeah. Pull it out. But that's 60. Nice. Congratulations.
I told you it's been wanting.
Thanks for joining the team. Free stuff rocks.
I said, I'll tell you.
Sorry, can I ask? Why Fox Bull? Anytime somebody says Fox Bull, I always think they take footage.
Buddies, yeah, it's a good one actually. My grandfather would have right there. That's not age you were. Yeah, baby. Yeah. Lots of bulbs. So we wanted something that was rooted in them and synonymous with different people. So everyone has, it could be buddies, it could be singers, it could be, it could be anything in terms of Fox's Bulb. It was a place, and it still is, like, even to this day, that's associated with creatives of all sorts. So whether it's the bars, honestly, back in the day, we buying record stores, all that good stuff. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just gave them so we wanted something rooted in Limerick, synonymous with Limerick people, but actually a quirky name that travels well. And that's where we kind of landed on Fox's Gold. And even the spelling of Fox's Gold was quirky. Like, if you do go to Fox's Gold, it's spelled 3 different ways on the street itself. We chose the ES, the apostrophe S, there's the big OWE as well. You'd be surprised the amount of people that think this is somehow the common goal. Absolutely. So yeah, that's how we kind of landed on the name. And we found that it's actually, if we're looking at like our distribution partners overseas and things like that, they're really gravitating to it. So it's
not named after buddies.
It's not named after buddies, no. But inspired by those that frequent the buddies.
You've gone through the whole process from the start, small and built it up into being the whiskey and getting it up on that, for the people who aspire to that someday. If you love whiskey, it's something you don't give to do, but you do give it to you. So how hard is it to do that? How do you get distribution later on?
It's incredibly difficult. Not going to do. And I would say the same thing. Exist or building your own brand. Very, very challenging. A couple of things, though, I kind of noted this earlier. Like, those folks operating in the industry are just incredibly supportive. So, like, day one, we were starting up. Right now, like, you can pick up the phone, whether it's like James up to Steve League has been an unbelievable member to us. Gary and Ben Lock. Like, 2019 was like he was forming, like, was so generous with his time. So it helps to have that network, people like willing to kind of push you along. And what I'd say as well is we've gotten great support from the local enterprise office. So there's great supports out there in terms of like grant funding. We started with a feasibility study with them, then we got a priming grant. We also got the equal support from the Bordeaux Cask. So Bordeaux funded 50% of all the design work that went into that project. And then with Enterprise Ireland, we were on the Food Works program last year, which is basically like an incubator for startup food and drinks brands. So like ourselves, the lads from Nickel, Clonakilty Distillery, 1661, we were a cohort, last year. So great to be able to have those as peers, but also have access to a bunch of expertise from Enterprise Ireland and also a few good designers. So there's good supports out there. I was trying to set up the business. It is myself and Anne's at full time, and we make each other's hits, if I'm being honest. But that's a good thing because we're always working towards it. It's just still figuring out the path to get there.
Do you have a lot of stock, or what for the future? What's the plan? Is there different releases for the future?
There will be different releases. Yeah, one of the key things for us is that we do want to have. We feel that that's accessible, so even when we do go to, we would like to do a single malt or even a single grain, like for the export markets, folks associate single with premium. So even when it's single grain, there's an opportunity there. But we will always make sure that they're as accessible as possible and still have a decent competitive price point. and also remove that driving speed that I'm finding intimidating. That will come in time. Our focus is on getting release one into the world, like really out into the world. Yeah, it's definitely on the couple of schemes.
So, I mean, this is this your first time trying the Fox whiskey? It's a Limerick whiskey, yeah. You're a Limerick, so who is the hands the first time trying the Fox whiskey?
That's not you guys.
There's a lot of trying some. These are listed numbers. If you have it, try to be here. Wait, try to continue.
Practic want to see with artists. So we expect the next release will the label be completely different, new design, another artist. Or continue like
Or will it be the extension of what's
To be confirmed, I think on day one when we set this out, and we're like, this is like, there's an element of us flying the plane as we're building it right now. There's no harm in saying that. The intention day one was that we would work with different markets. So the cooks, like that core Fox's Bowl branding, the black label piece, will remain. But we want to own neon, for example. So you might have a different cigar label. And the intention was to have a different artist do the side of it. So that's basically what that artwork is, and there's like a wider piece of art, full piece. That's John's interpretation of going up to Corby, walking into town. So there's a lot of Easter eggs there for the folks. Picking stock is there. If you look very carefully at the bottles, this will be supposed to be off the bottle, you will actually see Fox's Bowl. So there's a couple of cool things like that. The intention would be to try and work with other artists as well, and that extends across the board, not just the bottles. We're working with Greg Hall, who runs Executing System up its own company here. He does all our ceramic and things like that. Yeah, there's a event coming up in Dublin next Thursday for anyone else in Dublin or anyone who's online. I want to go to Dublin. That's on a craft cocktails in 1661, which is an amazing whiskey bar as well. Yeah, so we're doing a special collaboration with craft cocktails. They are doing a penicillin with Fox's Bowl whiskey. And that'll be available to buy. It'll be a bundle online for Christmas with Fox's Bowl whiskey on IrishMalls.com. So use your 10% discount codes to hope to get a further discount on that. And with that as well, we're working with a girl called Max Venice, and she customizes sneakers. So she has designed a label for ourselves and craft cocktails, and we're running a competition at the moment on Instagram to win a pair of customized Fox's Bowl 19
Right, so there is a competition on the club with Fox's Bowl.
Yeah, if you go onto our Instagram at Fox's Bowl Whiskey, we're still running this. It's a chance to win a bottle of Fox's Bowl, then a little bottle of the craft cocktails, penicillin made with Fox's Bowl, and most importantly, a massive sneaker lens. My whiskey and sneakers are my two voices. A chance to win a pair of customized Nike Air Force Ones with the John Slade artwork. It's hand painted by that spot. So go online, I think comment on it, and we share the prize with it, and we share other stories as well. And yeah, you get bonus entries for it. I think the cocktails are coming out as well. So just to kind of briefly run you through these cocktails as they're coming. It's Fox's Bowl whiskey, and we partner with poachers. So I think Rob had mentioned the poachers tonic. We don't go with the tonic. We go with the ginger beer, not ginger ale, ginger beer. Why we choose poachers is because they make a ginger beer that's infused with Irish chilies. They harvest the Irish chilies in Galway. So ginger beer is spiced in on its own. The poacher's ginger beer is that extra bit of kick, and then it works really well with that White Cask finish. Yeah. So it works really well with the White Cask finish. So you're getting a non-spice pretty refreshing, but we'll do some more. Yeah, one measure of money.
Oh, thank you. So people can make this at home pretty easily, right?
Super easy to make at home. All you need, like, you don't have to use poachers. We like poachers. 2 layers of brand, 2 shifts. But generally, it's a whiskey ginger. The ginger beer, because it's fermented and there's that bit of extra kick, it tends to work better. But at the same time, the ginger ale goes great too.
No.
So yeah. Any other questions for Bob?
Good.
So that question there was what are the plans to get set up for the distillery? On day one we had unbelievable ambitions and plans to do the distillery. The reality is, the financial reality is very different.
That's right.
Actually, whiskey. So,
And I'm like, oh no, I'm just like,
the mix, I'll back to the distillery question a second. The mix is possible whiskey and poachers ginger beer with red Irish chilies. So poachers fermented ginger beer and they harvest the chilies from Galway. So it's big here. On the distillery piece, so yeah, the ambition was
happy birthday
to create a distillery to bring people into the drink and also, have a product that is introduced that they can push out. The financial reality is totally different. It was a bit of a harsh reality to us when we were starting out on this journey. Like we had talked about the idea and day one being the company. We're going to open the stadium. We've bootstrapped all of it to this point with we're on the crowdfunding. We're using that funding to build the brand. So we continue to source our whiskey from distillery with regular unbelievable. John Feeling is an absolute legend of the game. Brands like ourselves, to be honest, most Irish whiskey brands wouldn't exist. So our ambition is to continue to build the brand, continue to source it. We would love to have a brand home in the market at some time. Definitely, what that looks like, I don't know. It is on the radar, but it is a bit of a slight light with our ambition. No. The Department of Agriculture, you do have to get the label approved to sign that. There's a bit of a thing in Irish whiskey at the moment in terms of like how people, like how transparent people do. We don't want any smoke in there. So you can pick up a bottle that says distilled and done. They bottle the bottle for us. So when we were working with Great Northern, certain beer, this was coming, and then we actually got very few questions from the Department of Agriculture because we were just like super upfront about it.
Sorry, where's one warehouse?
One warehouse in Cork. So there's no, if anyone does want to set up a wet bond in Limerick or in the Midwest region, there's a massive need. Yeah, massive need for one. I have a plant board down that board from Mitch's from Mitch's down to the Cork Bond. The Cork Bond are amazing and we've done great partners for us as well. And they know what they're doing and it's like dealing with the revenue is, you have to be that mind. So working with Cork Bond. As an accountant, what I do again,
yes.
I wouldn't be doing it to make money anyway, I'll tell you that. It's tough. As an accountant, probably no, but as myself, yeah, this is the thing as well. It is the passion. Look,
I choice.
yeah, and look, fortunate that I have a very understanding wife. As a very understanding partner as well. So, you know, it's very much a case that we have a good network of support as well to kind of help give us the opportunity to go out and try and build something that we're proud of, and hopefully build something that people can be.
Sorry, Joe, I didn't know that you actually said what started the capital process.
The capital costs of setting up the distillery. We've been told
No, what did you start?
the range, I think realistically you're probably now talking at the starting point 15 to 20 million.
Much as now.
Yeah.
With your size.
That would be not with the site, but I think you're probably talking in terms of like to do that scale, when you're talking about storage, sort of your bond, because a lot of the cities have that side of it, the cost of the stills, the cost of the mash tubs, casks, and then the reality is
I'm not going to get it.
you have to lay down that stock for 3 years before you can touch it. It's the massive capital investment as well. It's not that's to do with a big one. So,
And of course, you have cash flow issues then.
yeah, it's a huge cash. Cash is always king anyway. But in a business where you can't sell it for 3 years, it's a lot of cash to do.
Minimum of 3 years.
Minimum of 3 years, yeah, minimum. Yeah, it's not like day whatever it is 3 years on all the whiskey's going to be bottled. Yeah, it's not the case. So that's why, if I'm being honest, I think it became more and more of a big thing.
So particularly, right, turn around and it's Alexander.
Yeah.
Way down to that. Gateway into something installation.
Does exist and as a route for folks. I think for us, not necessarily it doesn't strictly align with our ambition for the brand. I think there's great work being done from the public perspective. You have Jerry was here, Donnie was here, and some stage you don't need a distillery necessarily. I think having a distillery would be inspiration, and I think the folks that are running the distilleries have so much admiration for them because it is, building a brand is one thing, but building a distillery at the same time is
He's going to get a new master blender. Master blender. A new master blender.
Your boss,
Master blender. So Brian was the master distiller in the ordinance sadly passed away last night. But at the same time, very fortunate there's another project there's a lot of distillers as well. So we will just continue to work to get more. Like I said, John is going to use his support for us. Hopefully, the Irish whiskey community is going to be support for the guys now at the moment. I'm sure it's we just look forward to taking the back. That's what we're speaking.
Yeah, your whiskey was amazing.
Thank you.
Okay, say thanks to everyone for coming. Been a great evening. Yeah, we'll get through this.
Yeah.
Sorry, tonight.
I wasn't even going to come on off there because
When you guess, you might be.
no, the fusion that we for we're actually going back to work and go back to work. It's like I'm going back to work. That is not go to work for like 3 hours.
Okay.
And today she came. She arrived at 7. That's perfect. It's like 7 o'clock. The king is a little actually has 3 minutes. Actually has 2 minutes. No,
So thanks everyone for coming this evening. There's still a few more samples we have here, and we can get into people if you want to turn to whiskey. We've had a lot of new faces here this evening. Just going on for the evening. Anyone that wants to become a member of the society, check out the website. We can leave the difference what you can get and we get you on board with this government and meet everyone again. And we're going to whistling taste the evening. Thank you all very much. So we've got 3 more bottles to give away. So what we're going to do is, who's got the answer of the, it's called the vineyards? Wine, okay, go for it.
Michelle Lynch.
So it's Mitchell Lynch, guys. Our second name wasn't that saying a while ago, but congratulations on your bottle, which you can say. I've heard a few incorrect answers. So,
Yeah, did you talk to this?
when you're lucky, it doesn't come up on Google. So what we're doing is we'll just add it to someone to take it. You've already won, lads, so you're not.
You will have got the number.
70. Oh, our very own Emma Langford. She's not only half famous.
Come on now.
Emma Langford, come on down.
Hey, yeah, I'm going to give Emma a shout out. She's a fantastic singer-songwriter. What a good bit. Yes, Bordeaux. You like a red wine? Okay, better.
We've got one more up for grabs. So where's the box of tickets gone? So here, so with the maximum. You want to take it out? Okay, what number is Chuck? What is it? Number 32. 32. Oh, fuck off. You can't win it, you're my father. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'll give you a box for free.
Well,
that's a joke. No, I don't believe in fixes. Do it again.
I'm your son.
63. Well, at least you won, right?
You get 2? Got 2. Have you got there's one for the table?
Okay.
Yeah. Okay,
We'll go again. We'll go a third time. Third time's the charm. Look, I'll take one.
I'll take it myself.
Recount, please. There's an election on in America today.
It's a Republican.
Are you a Republican or a Democrat?
It's a boy. 46.
Yeah.
Hey! Someone that's not related to me. Cheers, guys. Thank you very much. Thanks for being here. A small bit of cleanup, lads. The minky glasses on your table, please do not wrap them. Not all the rest of it, okay?
These ones.
Yeah, no, you can't keep any of the glasses. Just leave them on the table, please. Thank you. Cheers.